Anansi the spider had 6 spider sons. Each son had a special gift or talent, something that only they could do, and their names were a clue to what that gift or talent was. The oldest spider son, he was called See Trouble, because he could see if someone was in trouble and make sure that they got sent help. The second spider son was called Road Builder, because he could build the best roads of any spider, spinning them and weaving them this way and that way out of his spider webs. The third spider son was called River Drinker. That's right, because he could drink so much water in one go, he could drink a whole river dry. The fourth spider son was called Game Skinner. That's a funny name, isn't it? Now, game, as well as being something that you can play, is also a word that means animals that you hunt. And Game Skinner had a pair of sharp pincers on the ends of 2 of his spider legs, because he could cut the skin off dead animals quicker and better and more accurately than anybody else. Ugh. The fifth spider son was called Stone Thrower, because he could throw stones better and more accurately and further and harder than anybody else. And the sixth spider son, the little one, the baby, my favourite, his name was Cushion, because he was soft and cuddly and just the right kind of spider to go to if you needed a hug. One day, Anansi, the dad spider, he went for a walk. And as he went for a walk, he fell into trouble. He fell in a river, and along came fish and swallowed him up. Anansi was trapped inside Fish's belly. Oh no! What are they going to do? Well, back at home, the first spider son, do you remember him? See Trouble. Well, he was going about his business, going about his day, when suddenly, in his mind, he saw that their dad was in trouble. So he was able to call his brothers to him and say, "Our dad's in trouble, we have to go and help him." And they all looked at each other and said, "Yes, we must go and help him, but oh, how are we going to get there? If only we had a way of getting quickly to where he is." Well, the second spider son stepped up and he said, "I think I can handle this." And so, with See Trouble to guide him in the right direction, Road Builder ran along at the head of the spider pack, spinning a road out of spider webs, and the others all ran along behind him. So, they've seen the trouble, they've built a road, they've run along behind Road Builder until they've got to the river where Anansi has been swallowed up in the belly of a fish. How are they going to find the fish, though, in all that water? If only they had a way of getting rid of it. Suddenly, the third spider son called out, "I think this is where I come in." And he ran down to the river, he opened his spider mouth wide, and he drank the river dry, like this. Which is a glorious noise, and one which you should have the opportunity to make too, so that I'm not the only one who gets to enjoy it. After 3, we will all pretend to be River Drinker and drink the river dry. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Brilliant, isn't it? It's good fun to do that noise. So, they have now seen the trouble, built a road, drunk the river. There is the fish with Anansi trapped in his belly on the bottom of the riverbed. But how are they going to get him out of the fish? Well, do you remember the fourth spider son, the one with the pincers on the end of his spider arms? He said, "This is my job," and he ran down to the riverbed, he got his sharp pincers, and he sliced Fish's belly open from its head down to its tail. Ugh. And then Anansi, the father spider, climbed out of the fish. He ran up the riverbank with Game Skinner, and they stood with the other spider sons. They'd seen the trouble, built a road, drunk the river, cut the fish's belly open, and freed their dad from his trouble. Hooray! Just as they were celebrating on the riverbank, though, they failed to look up and see that more trouble was coming in the sky, because there, above their heads, flying through the blue, was Falcon, great big bird. Now, Falcon was feeling hungry. He was feeling peckish, and he was thinking, do you know what I'd really like? I just fancy me just a little snack, a little tidbit, something just to fill that little empty hole in my belly. What could I eat? If only there was something really tasty around, like, I don't know, some bugs or some ants or maybe a spider. And it was then that Falcon looked down and he saw Anansi on the riverbank, the biggest of the gathered spiders, and he flew down, picked Anansi up in his beak, and off into the sky he went. Now Anansi is free from the fish, but he is in the beak of Falcon, flying through the sky. What are they going to do? If only they had a way of surprising the Falcon so he would let go of their dad. Well, luckily enough, the fifth spider son, Stone Thrower, picked up a little stone. He said, "This is my turn," and he threw that stone through the sky so brilliantly and so perfectly and so accurately that it sailed right up to Falcon and hit him on the beak. And when it hit him on the beak, he was so surprised he opened his mouth and Anansi fell out. Now the bird cannot eat him. Hooray! Oh, but Anansi is now kind of hurtling through the sky towards the hard rocky ground, and if he lands, he's going to bash his brains out. If only they had something to give him a soft landing. Well, you know what's going to happen now. That little one, the baby, Cushion, he goes, "My turn!" And he runs along and he sits underneath where Anansi is falling, so Anansi falls through the sky, bounces on Cushion, soft landing, and lands beside him. Brilliant. Now they have all worked together and all done their bit to save their dad from his trouble. They walked home together, those spiders and their dad, and that night they had a kind of celebration meal to celebrate that they had managed to rescue their dad from his trouble and he was safe home again. After they'd finished, Anansi decided to go for another walk. Uh-oh. This time, though, he didn't fall into trouble. He was much more careful. He went for a walk into the woods. And whilst he was there, just walking along, in the bushes, something caught his eye. It was beautiful. The most beautiful thing he'd ever seen. How wonderful, how marvellous, shining silver ball of light. I will take this home and give it as a reward to the spider son who saved me. But which one deserves it most? And Anansi thought about it, and he couldn't decide. So whilst he was thinking, he called to the god of the sky, Niamey, who came down, and Anansi said, "Could you look after this, please, whilst I decide which of my sons I'm going to give it to?" And he gave it to Niamey, who took it into the sky, while Anansi went back to have a chat with his sons. He said, "My boys, I have for you a reward for the son who saved me, but I don't know which of you deserves it most." "Well," said Sea Trouble, "I think you'll find it was down to me. If it weren't for me, we wouldn't even have known you were in trouble. Clearly I deserve the prize. I led the way. I led the pack." "I don't think so," said Road Builder. "All you did, right, was see a little bit of trouble in your head and then tell us which way to go. I worked really hard spinning that road out of webs, exhausted my legs. I'm tired now. I think I worked much harder than you, and if it weren't for me, we would never have got there in time. So definitely I should get the prize, right?" river drinker. Slosh is up next. You can hear him coming, the water gurgling inside him from a mile away. He says, "Oh, I don't think so, right? Because all you did was see a bit trouble spin a road, very nice for you, but I actually had to drink an entire river dry, and it's still sloshing around in there. I have been for a wee 50 times, and I have not got rid of the river. It's going to take me weeks to get back to my normal size. Definitely, I deserve the prize." But Game Skinner did not agree. Up he comes with his pincers. He says, "Have you seen my hands? Have you seen my hands? I have washed them over and over and over again. Look, look, they're still covered in fish guts and they stink." That definitely deserves the prize. Stone thrower, though, he wasn't having any of that. He said, "What is the point? What is the point of saving our dad from a fish, which is at least there on the ground, if then a bird comes along and just eats him up? None of you were paying any attention when that bird took him in the sky. I threw the stone and got him dropped out of the beak. I saved him from being eaten alive. I should get the prize." And then a little voice said, "What about me? What about me? Cushion, what about me? I let you fall on my head. I've still got a headache. I should get the prize." And they argued and they argued all night long. Now Niamey, the god of the sky, who was looking after the shining ball of light, was listening to them. And as he was listening, he was thinking, actually, it needed all of them, every one to do his bit, every gift to be used and put to use. They all needed to contribute. So Niamey took that shining silver ball of light and he hung it up in the sky where they could all look at it and enjoy its beauty. And they do say that if you go to your window on a cold, clear night when there are no clouds in the sky and you look in the right direction and you're really lucky, you might still see that shining silver ball of light hanging there in the sky. The moon, reminding us that actually we don't all need to be the same. For things to be as they should be, we all need to be different, and we all need to play our part. The end.